Bonjour mesdames et messieurs et bienvenue à Guitare du jour. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, selamat datang ke Guitar Harian. Hey up, guitar at day. That's my language is expired for day anyhow. Right, what I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen, is a sad and harrowing tale of optimism and counting your chickens before they're hatched. What I've got here is a guitar with a crackly jack socket. Is an early 90s, probably a 94 Fender made in Japan Jazzmaster. I think it's a 60s reissue, it's early 60s because it's got a dot net rather than the blocking lays that they add on them later. And yet again, like me tell you, it's a Fotoflame. I don't know what was up with me back in the mid 90s, but I seem to take a liking to these things. Well, why did I, of all people, go out and buy a Jazzmaster? Well, two reasons really. One, back in day, along with my my liking for all things heavy rock and blues rock, I used to like this little American band called Television, and Tom Verlaine played a Jazzmaster, so I always had hankering after one as a result of that. And then one day when I was working in Hong Kong, my boss turned around and said, "Here Steve, you play guitar, don't you?" Obviously he didn't say it like that because he's Welsh, but "Here Steve, you play guitar, don't you? One of the lads in football team's looking for a guitar player. Do you want to turn up to a rehearsal tonight and have a try out with them?" "Aye, alright then. Okay, I'll give him a ring." So about 8 o'clock that evening I got off the MTR at Quarry Bay and wandered along to this rehearsal studio that was round back of a music shop. And I spent a couple of hours learning songs with these guys who were playing sort of alternative pop stroke Britpop style stuff they'd written themselves. All pretty derivative stuff. And at the end of the night they're talking about, alright, well we'll go and play the Wanch in a couple of weeks, that'll be alright. The Wanch is a music bar in Hong Kong that's been there 30 odd years. Tiny little hole in the wall place. Only place I've ever been to where the PA mixer's mounted on the wall somewhere above the toilet door. That's not quite like that, it's actually above the exit. But anyhow, so I went away thinking, well, I've got a Les Paul, that's not really the guitar for this gig. And I used it as an excuse to go out and buy myself a Jazzmaster, this thing. So I wandered into Tommy Lee's and tried a few, and I liked this one, and it was only, I think, $4,500 Hong Kong dollars, so I bought it, and a gig bag, and I walked out with it, and never heard from that band again. So here I am, 20 years later, with a Jazzmaster. Now, this guitar, like I said, is a Fotoflame, and it has not worn well over the years. If I move in close, you can see where the Fotoflame is just cracking up and falling off. I mean, this finish is like, it's like being sugar coated is this guitar. If you touch it with anything, the finish just cracks and falls off it. And you can see it's splitting on the top. Not as badly as the Telly did, but I mean, it's basically rooted. And if you look again in this close-up, you can see that the pickups have gone really yellow, and that the all the plastic has gone very, very dark. Well, what happened there was, a few years ago, when we were living in a house, not an apartment, I used to keep all my guitars stored in the void under the stairwell. And I shoved this guitar in a hard shell case, and it lived in there for about a year because I just wasn't playing it. And when I put it away, all this plastic hardware you can see is white. It's the colour of the top of that whammy bar tip. Well, something must have happened with this 20-odd-year-old guitar case I put it in, because when I pulled the guitar out of there, it had become, as you see here, all of the Fotoflame finish had started shrinking and cracking and falling off. And the all the exposed plastic had gone extremely dark yellow. It's something to do with phase chemistry and glues venting off. You'd have thought they'd have all vented off by then, but again, Malaysian climate kills guitars. So this thing's ended up pretty vintage looking. Features wise though, it's pretty much bone stock. I've not changed the pickups. I've been tempted to get a real set of Jazzmaster pickups for this, because rumour has it that these 90s reissues have got pickups that are pretty much strap pickups under Jazzmaster covers. They're not these flat, wide single coils that the Jazzmaster pickups are, so they have a different sound to a standard Jazzmaster. The mods I've made to this, well, again, if I'm moving close, you can see that there's a strange device bolted on the tailpiece, bolted on the bridge. That's called a buzz stop, because the brake angle over the Jazzmaster bridge of the strings coming from the tailpiece here, where they'd originally have come out of, is just so shallow that the minute you start playing with any gauge of strings on there less than about 12s in standard tuning, the strings all just move around and rattle. You're forever knocking the strings across these little knurled bridge pieces, and the guitar goes out of tune. It's just an unplayable mess. You know, you bend a string and the string moves on the bridge. It's not good. So, some genius came out with this little device here that actually fits onto the two mounting screws of the trem plate cover here, and it's just a roller that the strings go underneath, so the strings are actually breaking upwards from the body to the bridge from about 2 inches away, as opposed to getting on for 5 inches away here. And that gives you a better brake angle over the bridge, and that means you get a better downforce from the string tension. Prior to this, I did actually experiment with stringing this guitar with a set of strings that had a 13 on the top, a wound G, and I think a 62 on the bottom end. And actually, to be honest, all of a sudden, this guitar made sense with that sort of strings on. The whammy suddenly worked a lot better. It made a lot more. It was, instead of feeling really floppy, it just felt right. But unfortunately, in standard tuning with strings as heavy as that on, if you go and start trying to bend strings, like I think I foolishly went for something like a semitone and a half bend on the G string, and yeah, I made the pitch. I also detached the skin from underneath the fingernail on my ring finger on my left hand. Blood everywhere, not fun. So at the moment, this thing's actually strung with 10s, good old 10 to 42s, and with the buzz stop on, it sort of makes sense. So how does it sound? Well, for starters, this guitar has got an unusual tone and volume circuitry in it. There are in fact 2 separate volume and tone circuits available. There's a slider switch here, which when it's in the down position, you're effectively running on the set of controls down here. Both pickups are available via the 3-way selector, and this volume and tone are the ones that are effective. If you pull the slider switch into the up position, you're purely using the neck pickup. There is a capacitor in the circuit which is rolling off some of the top end all of the time, irrespective of whether the tone control is being used or not. And you can hear that if I just play a chord with the slider switch in the up position, and then the same chord having pushed it down, you can hear that the sound is much duller if I'm using what they call the rhythm circuit. So if I'll play a chord and just flick it backwards and forwards, you'll hear the variation. I don't think many people ever use that facility. I certainly see a lot of the alt rock guys who use these guitars have either had this switch removed or they leave a big lump of gaffer over it to make sure it doesn't get knocked while they're playing. Because if you're strumming over the neck pickup area, it's very much in the arc of where your pick might go, and if you get a bit energetic on a gig, you could easily knock this with your pick. So, if I go down to the lower circuit, what do the sounds like of the pickups? Well, starting with the neck pickup, bit bell-like, not exactly like a Strat, slightly different. If I go into the middle position, both pickups in, and they are reverse round, reverse phase, so effectively they act like a humbucker. You can hear that slight out of phasiness there. It's a very chimey sound. And then onto the bridge pickup. Very jangly. So what does it sound like with a bit of distortion? If I switch onto my Laney IRT20's drive channel, this is actually the crunch channel, not the solo channel, and I haven't got much gain set on this at all. I've actually got the gain set at about 4 on a scale of 10. This is a very high gain amp. What do we get? Well, on the bridge pickup, very piercing. You can hear why television used to use them. Go to the middle, one thing you'll notice, that buzz goes away. That little bit of EM interference that was on the signal goes away. Not a bad sound. And if I switch again to the neck pickup, you're almost in Texas blues territory. Anyhow, you get the picture. So, a rather beaten up 1994 made in Japan, sorry, crafted in Japan, Fender Jazzmaster. Bought for the gig I didn't get. Cheers then.